Sandhan. All Gujarat Integrated Classroom.
સેટેલાઇટના માધ્યમથી જોડતી કડી એટલે સંધાન.
Hello, my dear friends. Today, we are going to talk about idioms and phrasal verbs. The topic given in your syllabus by your university. Though, for the semester, the topic is mostly weighed in marks, but knowing idioms and phrasal verbs would add a lot to your enrichment of the language. All of us know that wherever we make our career in, English has become a requirement. Until you have enough or working knowledge of the language, you won't get settled into the required field or career you dream of. Shall we begin then? Most of us might have gone through, studied idioms and phrasal verbs during their school years. But as we take it easily, as we take it lightly, now what could have we done with idioms and phrasal verbs when we ourselves were kids? If you had or you have the knowledge of idioms and phrasal verbs, even at a primary level, that adds a lot to this point when you are in semester 2. Let's begin with what is an idiom. We try to define for better understanding. An idiom is a cluster of words or a multi-word unit acquiring meaning other than the literal meaning of the words in it. Therefore, it is an expression peculiar to language. Cluster, we understand. A group of words. Suppose I have a word silver, spoon, mouth. If I join them together with a silver spoon in the mouth, it becomes a cluster of words, and definitely, as the definition says, it is getting the meaning different from the literal meanings of these three words, and we produce an idiom. For example, if I want to talk about a rich person, I would say he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. That means the person was born rich. By birth, he is rich. This is how we define idiom. Hope this is clear in your mind now. The definition is clear. Combining words, making a cluster to give it a different meaning from the literal meanings of the words. Now, let's take an example. I have given you an example here. Look at the slide. The three words parents, apple, and eyes have their literal meanings when used separately. But if they are put together in one cluster, they bring out peculiar meaning. See the example. She is the apple of her parents' eyes. Now the meaning has changed. And what's the new meaning? I have put it in the brackets. It means she is very clear to her parents. Let's come to the definition of phrasal verbs. What do we mean by phrasal verbs? Phrasal verbs are the group of words combined with verbs and prepositions or adverbs giving an idiom-like meaning or giving a meaning that is different from the literal meanings of those words. I have given an example also. See the example? The verb look means to see, but when it is followed by after, it gives peculiar meaning. That is, look after, that means to take care of. Look after means to take care of. Similarly, if we put for before look, if we create a phrasal verb look for, which means to search for. Now, one crucial question that would be striking the minds of all of you on the other side of the lens. Why these idioms and phrasal verbs in my syllabus? Why this headache in my syllabus? Let me try to show the importance of idioms and phrasal verbs in your acquisition of English as a second language, because this is not our mother tongue and we won't build our career without this language. So we have to acquire the language, and these idioms and phrasal verbs, they'll definitely enrich your creativity. They'll make you more creative in the language. They convey the meaning quickly and briefly. As I told you earlier, suppose I want to talk about a person who is rich by birth. I don't have to use so many words. I have to say, just he is born with a silver spoon in his mouth. That means the meaning is acquired very quickly and briefly also. They are also important part of the process of acculturation, exchange of cultural features. Many times we come through so many idioms or phrasal verbs. Like, for instance, if somebody asks you, how are you? Your reply would be, I am in the blue. The blue in English culture means you are happy, contented, and in good health. This kind of acculturation, acquirement of a culture that is of native culture of the language, you will be able to acquire it very easily through these idioms and phrasal verbs. It felicitates your language. It formulates your language. It gives your language a standard. It helps you to learn the natural usage of the language. When you speak, when your language is loaded with idioms and phrasal verbs, then your language not only it looks rich, but also you look learned and natural user of the language. It's a key to fluency. The last but the very important thing, the most important thing is through the frequent usage of idioms and phrases, you become fluent in English. Now let's begin with the idioms and phrasal verbs given in your syllabus. They are fixed and we'll take them up one by one. We'll understand them. My approach would be bilingual because I know most of you are from vernacular medium. First one is to give up. This is a phrasal verb which means to abandon an attempt, to renounce, to leave. To give up matlab thashe છોડી દેવું, જતું કરવું, જવા દેવું. For example, he did not give up his studies in spite of repeated failures. He failed so many times, but he did not give up. He did not give up, renounce. He left couragelessness, हिम्मत नहीं हारी और अटेम्प्ट करना चालू रखा. Number 2, to keep up means to maintain, to continue. To continue with something. No need to tell in Gujarati. कोई वस्तुने चालू રાખવાની. For example, it is not easy to keep up honesty in today's corruption. Number 3, to go into action means to start doing something, to start some activity, to start some work. For example, I usually go to office at 7:15 a.m., take coffee and go into action at 7:30. That means I start my work at 7:30. That marks the beginning, start, sharuat. Number 4, to keep well, to be in good health, to be in good condition. To keep well मतलब सारी स्थितिમાં હોવું, સારી હાલતમાં હોવું. For example, my grandfather keeps well after surgery now. Number 5, to break down means to surrender to emotions and cry out. Or you could say to collapse. કેટલી વાર આપણે કોઈ ઇમોશન્સમાં આવી અને ભાંગી પડતા હોય છે. ગુનેગારો ઘણીવાર ગુનો કબૂલવામાં ભાંગી પડતા હોય છે. એવો જ મતલબ અહીંયા છે, to surrender to emotions and cry, to collapse. For example, Manish broke down on listening to bad news. Number 6, to go well, to proceed well. કોઈ વસ્તુ સારી ચાલે છે, સારું ચાલવું, સારી રીતે આગળ વધવું. For instance, I hope things are going well with you. Number 7, to break out means to burst forth suddenly, to start suddenly. अचानक फूटी निकलવું. For instance, a fire broke out in the building last night. Number 8, to wake up means to awaken. જાગવું, આપણે જેમ ઊંઘમાંથી જાગીએ છીએ એ રીતે. For instance, please don't wake me up until noon. Next, number 9, to look into means to investigate. તપાસ કરવી, ઝીણવટભરી તપાસ કરવી. For instance, police is looking into the theft case. Number 10, to set off means to start. કોઈ વસ્તુ શરૂઆત કરવી. For instance, we set off at 5:30 p.m. for a movie. Number 11, to take off means to leave the ground and begin to fly. જમીનથી ઉપર ચડવું. For example, when does our flight take off? પ્લેન જે રીતે જમીનથી ઉપર ચડે એને take off. Number 12, to look down on means to consider someone or something as not important. કોઈ વસ્તુને તુચ્છ ગણવી. For instance, a lot of people look down on us because we are homeless. Next one, 13 number, to serve out means to carry out one's duty for the whole time. For example, she was unable to serve her term out. જેટલો સમય કામ કયો હોય એ પૂરું થાય, એ સારી રીતે પૂરું થાય એને કહીએ to serve out. Number 14, to stand by means to wait and remain ready to support. For example, my friend always stands by me in times of difficulty. ગમે ત્યારે તૈયાર, stand by. Next one, 15 number, to set down means to write down or to record. કોઈ વસ્તુ લખવી છે, લખાણમાં રેકોર્ડમાં ઊભી કરવી છે. For instance, I'll set down this lecture on paper. Number 16, to pull off means to manage to make something happen. કોઈ વસ્તુની શરૂઆત કરવી, કોઈ વસ્તુ મેનેજ કરવી. For example, do you think you can pull off this deal? Next one, number 17. To call on means to take a short visit to. ટૂંકી મુલાકાત લેવી. For instance, during his visit to Mumbai, Tushar called on his old school friend. Number 18. To come up means arise, approach. ઉગી નીકળવું, દેખાવું. For instance, the question never came up in the meeting. Number 19. To bring to light means to make something known. કોઈ વસ્તુને પ્રકાશમાં લાવવી, જાણમાં મૂકવી. For instance, we must bring this new evidence to light. Number 20. To call for means to need something or the services of someone. કોઈની મદદ જોઈએ, મદદની માગણી કરવી. For instance, this job calls for someone with experience. આવશ્યકતા, જરૂર. Next one. To carry out means to complete an activity. કોઈ પણ કામનું પૂર્ણાહુતિ કરવી, પૂરું કરવું. For instance, agency does not have the funds to carry out its activities. Number 22. At the spur of the moment, suddenly, at once, achanak. For instance, in spite of being a brilliant student, she could not clear the test which was arranged at the spur of the moment. Next one, number 23. To come round to means to change one's mind or opinion. અભિપ્રાય બદલવો, મન બદલાવું. For instance, he came round our point of view. Number 24. To cut down means to reduce the amount. ઘટાડો કરવો. For instance, you are advised to cut down the fatty food from your meal. Next one, number 25. To drop in means to visit briefly. ટૂંકી મુલાકાત લેવી. For instance, about 100 guests dropped in to celebrate the publication of his book. Number 26. To run out means to have no more of something. હવે ખતમ થઈ ગયું છે. For instance, he just ran out of ideas. Number 27. To take over means to gain the control of or to take responsibility of. કોઈ વસ્તુનો કબજો લેવો અથવા સંપૂર્ણ જવાબદારી લેવી. For instance, she took over the job after he had left. Number 28. Ups and downs. Alternating periods of good and bad fortunes. જીવનમાં સુખ દુઃખ, આપણે કહીએ તડકી છાંયડી. For instance, he has seen many ups and downs in his life before getting success. Number 29. Out of the question means impossible, absolutely not. શક્ય નથી, થશે જ નહીં. For instance, for a middle class man, purchasing a house in a big city is out of the question now. Number 30. To take to task means to scold someone. ઠપકો આપવો. For instance, the teacher took Bittu to task for his bad behavior. Number 31. In full swing means at the peak of the activity. કોઈ પણ કામ છે એ ખૂબ ફૂલે ફાલે છે, એના ટોપ પર પહોંચે છે. For instance, during summer, the art and craft activities for children go in full swing. Number 32. Off and on means regularly. નિયમિત રીતે. For instance, they phone each other off and on. Number 33. Up to the mark means excellent, perfect. એકદમ perfect, ખૂબ સરસ. For instance, your work is up to the mark. Keep it up. Number 34. To make a mark means to be successful or famous. પ્રખ્યાત થવું, સફળ થવું. For instance, she made her mark in sports. Number 35. In the long run, that means finally. કોઈ ક્રિયાના અંતે, અંતમાં. For instance, honesty pays in the long run. Number 36. To pass away means to die. For example, he passed away in an accident yesterday. Number 37. To bring up, to take care and educate. Or you could say to rear. ઉછેરવું, મોટું કરવું. For instance, Manu brings up 2 orphans. Number 38. To bring forth means to give rise to, or you could say to produce. ઉત્થાન કરવું, ઉપર લાવવું. For instance, trees bring forth the fruits. Number 39. To carry on means to maintain, to continue, or you could say to manage. કોઈ વસ્તુ જાળવી રાખવી, ચાલુ રાખવી, અથવા એનું સંચાલન કરી કરવું. For instance, carry on your preparations. You'll get through the GPSC exam. Number 40. To cast off means to reject, to discard, or you could say to let loose. ખારીજ કરી દેવું, જતું કરી દેવું. For instance, we use cast off tiles to make a mosaic on our terrace in Ahmedabad. Next one. To draw a blank means to fail, to find or remember something. કોઈ વસ્તુ યાદ કરવામાં કે શોધવામાં તકલીફ પડવી, ન મળવું. For instance, I was trying to remember the point, but I drew a blank during an interview. Number 42. To fall in love with means begin to experience feelings of love towards. ગુજરાતી કહેવાની જરૂર નથી. For instance, he fell in love with his friend. Number 43. To get through means finish, complete. કોઈ વસ્તુ પૂર્ણ કરવી. For instance, I got through my final exams last week. Number 44. To keep back means to restrain, or you could say to hold back. For example, please keep back, everything will be all right. હિંમત રાખો, જાળવી રાખો, સહન કરો. Next one. Number 45. To pass through means to make a journey from one place to another. કોઈ જગ્યાએથી પસાર થવું, એક જગ્યાએથી બીજી જગ્યાએ પસાર થવું, નીકળવું. For instance, some travelers decided to pass through the desert. Number 46. To turn deaf ear to means to refuse to hear something. કોઈને કંઈ વાત કહેવી હોય અને આપણે સાંભળવા તૈયાર ના હોય, આ વસ્તુને કહીએ to turn deaf ear to. For instance, the politician turned a deaf ear to the protesters. Number 47. To live up to means to fulfill. પૂરું કરવું, પૂર્ણ બનાવવું. For instance, he did not live up to his parents' expectations. His parents might be expecting more, but he couldn't fulfill parents' dreams, or you could say expectations. Number 48. To run down means to stop because of lack of power. અટકી જવું, શેના કારણે અટકી જવું? લેક ઓફ પાવર, તાકાત નથી, શક્તિ નથી. For instance, the computer ran down finally because of power cut. અહીંયા કમ્પ્યુટરમાં પાવર નથી એટલે કમ્પ્યુટર ran down, સ્ટોપ થઈ ગયું. Next one. To sat through means to join thing or to adjust something as an integral part. કોઈ વસ્તુને જોડવી અથવા તો એ રીતે એડજસ્ટ કરવી જાણે કે એ જેના સાથે જોડાયું છે એનો જ ભાગ છે, એ ક્યારેય જુદું નહોતું. એ રીતે to sat through. For instance, my brother sat through the neck of a doll with the body. Dolls had a neck were joined in such a manner that the doll became whole. It was never, her head was never separate. That means to sat through. Last one, number 50. To go with means to be associated with the event or entirely. કોઈ ઘટના, કોઈ ક્રિયા કે કોઈ કાર્યક્રમની સાથે જોડાવવું. For instance, the soup goes nicely with the tikkies in the breakfast. આ ટાઈપનો સૂપ ટિક્કી સાથે બ્રેકફાસ્ટમાં સારો લાગે છે. ટુ ગો વિથ, સાથે જાય છે, જોડાય છે. આપણી ભાષામાં કહીએ મેચિંગ થાય છે, મેચ થાય છે, પ્રોપર છે. ઇટ્સ ફિટ ફોર ટુ ગો વિથ the other thing. Now, let's take a glance at some other useful idioms. If you practice them in your day-to-day conversation with your friends and teachers, I guarantee you would definitely improve not only the fluency but your level of the language you interact with or you speak with whosoever. Let's take a glance at some of the idioms or phrasal verbs. I've brought some of them. Have a look. To read between the lines. Whatever is written on the paper, you are guessing not the literal meaning but something that is unsaid on the paper, in the lines. You are reading, you are getting that meaning. Where the shoe pinches. Many times we use this idiom. Only the wearer knows where the shoe pinches. Only the sick person knows how pitiable his condition is. Next one. To be in the good or bad books of. If I say to be in the good books of, that means I am the favorite of somebody. If I say in the bad books of, that means I am not the favorite of the person. An axe to grind. I have a mission to make you do something. I am working in that direction. મારો એક આશય છે, સ્વાર્થ છે. Selfishness, an axe to grind. Next one. Jack of all trades. These days we come across so many people who know everything. I know painting, I know spoken English, I know calligraphy, I know sketching, I know dancing, I know singing, but they are not masters of anything. Matlab, they don't acquire any art till the last. They don't do that, and that's why They become jack of all trades but master of none. Next one, to blow one's own trumpet. Every time, wherever I go, if I sing my own things, if I keep on telling my own things, and if I make you do the things I want from you, it would become to blow one's own trumpet. Next one, to cut capers. Sometimes, while watching cricket match on TV, if India wins, we rejoice, we celebrate. That means to cut capers. We cut capers. Next one, in a summary fashion, in the fashion that suits the place. Next one, a wild goose chase. Matlab you are following the task that is almost impossible. To eat one's words. Sometimes when we are angry, we speak so many things, and then after, when we realize, we feel sorry. We have to eat our words. To stand in the shoes of. When a son grows up and his foot fits in the shoes of his father, that means you try to see the person's condition. You try to understand the person's situation by putting yourself in his situation. To smell a rat, કાવતરાની ગંધ આપણે કહીએ છીએ. Many times people speak so pleasantly, so pleasingly, but they have something in their mind. They have a mission. They have some work with you. You could say, I smell a rat. Crocodile tears. Many people do. Though they are not in a pitiable condition, but they show that they are in a pitiable condition and start crying and start showing their pity. This is called crocodile tears. Khotta aansu. Next one, to burn the candle at both ends, and so on. I've put this many idioms only. To burn the candle at both ends. Kharcha karwa, befam kharcha karwa. To spend money like anything without thinking of future. To spend everything means to burn the candle at both ends. That's all from my side. There are numerous idiomatic usages. There are numerous idioms and phrases in English. If you sit to count them, they might cross the figures they might be more than thousands. But whatever you learn, whichever you acquire, are going to benefit you definitely. Happy learning. Bye for now. Goodbye.
Sandhan. All Gujarat Integrated Classroom.
સેટેલાઇટના માધ્યમથી જોડતી કડી એટલે સંધાન.